tell you about Mr. Scott Faver. Scott has been in the entertainment industry for a long time. He is the creative talent for the Party Favors, the Game Master, DJ Manager, Event Ensemble, and In Favor. Lots of things that he does. And he's coming on.
Am I on?
Here
Am I
we
on?
go. You are, though it's interesting. The screen is split
Listen,
a little bit. So
yeah. Can you hear me? Look at
there we
that.
go.
Maybe they just
Let's
needed to
fix
hear my
that.
voice and then pop, I'm in. Okay.
No,
Are we ready to party?
we are ready to party. Welcome,
Yes.
Scott. It's always great to see you. Yeah, I know you don't like going your history, but just for those of you, for those in the audience who may not have had the great blessing of knowing who you are, can you give us a quick rundown of what you do? I just told them all of the several things, several businesses that you have that you
Well,
run,
it, it,
but a
it
little bit about
started
who you are.
it started when I was really young. Is there a couch nearby? And well, um,
I believe you have a chair behind you, correct?
oh,
Right? I see
that'll do.
there.
And it's got like one of those hug pillows.
Yeah, a nice
Um,
pillow, right? Yes.
I was born lucky. I was born a natural entertainer. I got bit by the bug very early on, and I was
You
chatting with
ran
some.
with it.
I did. I was chatting with somebody the other day, and they said, "Wait a minute, what?" And I said, "Yes, I have been a professional DJ since 1980, and I have never had a job. I've never worked for anyone. I've been self-employed the entire time. You could do the math and figure out how old I am. Um, but the bottom line is, if you have, as we've discussed, passion for what you do, then you'll always be able to engage an audience. But I will tell you, even before you ask, we have this expression about amateurs. They say that amateurs practice until they get it right, and that professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. The truth is, whether you're in sales or entertainment, whether you work for somebody else or you work for yourself, the bottom line is you should be so comfortable in your dress or your suit or whatever it is, your skin, that they could drop you into any country in the middle of nowhere and you could, in an instant, become successful. That's how
Okay,
well you
well,
need to know your craft.
we're already dropping things and they're all going very well together. This is you mentioned passion, so you're the second of our speakers once again that mentioned passion expertly. Really, all three of you so far have talked about it, even implicitly. So having passion for what you do is very huge. Being knowledgeable, so I mean, you just said it, so knowledgeable about your craft that it doesn't matter where you are. Once you get the lay of the land, you can just go ahead and do well and be the expert that you are, regardless of where you find yourself. Again, yeah. I hope you're seeing for all of ours in our audience and listening to this kind of a running theme. And I would like to point out our panelists, they don't chat with each other. So it's not like they've been prepped to say the same thing. It's just the fact that they've all been successful. And there are certain things that you need to do and know to have that success and that continued success. You're hearing it now.
So here comes my story. Um, I'm DJing at this venue, and they have a very specific list of vendors. And if you're not on that list, the only way that you can DJ at this property is if you are invited by the client, and the client has to actually pay extra for that entertainer because they're not on the list. So I get lucky and they pay the extra and I'm there for the first time. And the wedding coordinator, she comes stomping over and she's got this scowl on her face and she says, "What is going on around here?" And I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?" She said, "Well, they're dancing." And I said, "Yes, isn't that great?" And she said, "Well, but they haven't had lunch yet." "Oh, do they have to eat before they dance?" "Well, but these people don't speak English." "That's not a requirement for having a good time, is it?" um, she was amazed that all the others, they just follow the program. They do what
Mm.
everybody else does. And so she was just expecting that I was going to be the same like everyone else. You have a choice in your business. You could be better, you could be the best, or you can be different. And I have built a lifetime career at being different. So when everybody's going this way, I'm going that way. And when they're standing up, I'm going to sit down. And when they're sitting down, well, I'm always standing up, but you know what I mean. So,
I do, and I actually want to put a pin on that because you and I, it's the beautiful thing of developing relationships over time. You and I have chatted about this topic before, and you're not from Arizona. You I jokingly say that you immigrated from California, but you because it seems like two different worlds at times. But you did move from California here. And when you first got to Arizona, you actually didn't quite do you. Am I correct?
yes, well, I had the misfortune of running into several people who said, "This is Brown Town, and so you need to wear a brown suit." Notice I'm not wearing brown. And
I
you
didn't
need to
obviously I did not get that memo either.
Well, see, there you go. But they also told me that I needed to tone it down. Scott, don't dance like that. Don't talk like that. Don't move like that. Don't play that song. Don't. And for a while, I was stuck in this little box, and it was really dark and lonely in there. And then I ran into David Hepburn, who opened the lid and said, "Come on out, Scott. It's okay to be you." And ever since then, I've been me. As a matter of fact, you mentioned Event Ensemble. It is the result of me interacting with other networking groups who were, you know, like this. And I said, there's got to be a space for creatives, for people who are like me, who are free. And by the way, it's not as if I'm some, well, maybe I am an oddball, but I relish and welcome the difference in people. And that has then created this environment for everyone who's in the event industry to say, ah, my people. You mentioned
I
tribe.
love that. I will always mention tribe because tribe is huge. I'm fortunate. I grew up in a very large communal setting. I understand truly the concept of it takes a village to raise a child. I'm the result of that mindset, right? And so in business, I function that same way where we are all in this together. Let's pull together and help each other be successful, right? And as you said, when you moved here, it was someone else saying, you know what, it's okay to be you. Yes, I hear what others are saying, but do you. And then as you do you, you become more successful. You described not being yourself, inauthentic, right, as a dark and lonely place. And that's huge for anyone who's listening and hearing this. Be yourself. It starts with understanding who you are, regardless of what industry you find yourself in. Look, I'm a kind, gentle soul who you have to learn how to, and I have to be tough, and I know how to do that. But my general presence is going to be very chill for the most part, very calm, very gentle. That's me in a few words, right? But I do my work and I do it very well, and I bring in other skill sets so that I can be very successful as an event planner and as we work with our team to create these extraordinary stories and events. You have to know who you are. And then, given that, layer in your knowledge of your industry, layering the support of your people so you can be successful. Hear this because it's coming up with pretty much every panelist that we've brought up on stage.
So you wanted takeaways, so I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention, because you said tribe, and there is no greater tribe than Seth Godin. And if you're not familiar with Seth Godin, please look him up. He has Kimbo as a podcast. He's got multiple books, and he would be, if not number one or two on my list, really, really high up there. He's a brilliant marketer and very approachable for his content. I'm also a huge fan of Alan Berg, and my favorite book by him is Shut Up!
And for everyone who's wondering, when he takes off the glasses, it's a serious moment.
You know it is. It is Shut Up and Sell More. Two of these and one of these. And if you're talking, then you're not learning. If you're talking, you're not listening. And if you're not listening, you're not growing. God,
My
I'll
goodness.
take that.
Again, there is listening comes back up into the forefront. Every single person we've chatted with, you have to be a very good listener. Learn, and if you're not, these are learnable skills. That's the beautiful thing about all of these things. It's not like you have to be born a listener. None of us are. You're a baby. All you're doing is crying and trying to get your voice known from a young child up. You can learn to be a great listener.
You can also learn to be a great presenter. If you're quiet, if you're shy, if you're introverted, make friends with Toastmasters.
Yes.
Toastmasters will allow you, listen, you're not going to be me. That's okay. But you can find a space that allows you to communicate and connect with your audience. I have this philosophy that you have to first get their attention. And the way that you do that is through inspiration. That inspiration of sharing a story. It's not about, well, I got all these things, and let me tell you about all the stuff I do. Share a story. Or share something that motivates them, that connects with them, that they feel and draws them in. Now that you have their attention, you can share some information, which will lead to confirmation. Sign right here on the dotted line. But the idea is laugh, cry, sigh, and then they'll buy. So
I love that.
all of this is part of the process, if you will, to connect with your audience. And if you're not connecting for whatever reason, back to listening, if you can't be interesting, then be interested. Show a genuine interest in who you're in front of.
Well, there's so much in there. Let me see if I
Hey,
can wrap it up a
I
little
came
bit.
prepared. You asked.
I do ask, and I love that. Obviously, you mentioned some really great people that have been influential in you, Seth Godin, Alan Berg, and he is, for those of you who know him, a huge fan of Alan Berg for certain. And Alan has a lot of great things, but I loved how you talked about it be inspired to hear people's stories again, to really listen to them and to connect back to the heart, right? The feelings, the emotions, but connecting back to the heart so that they are interested in hearing from you, right? In any form of communication, once you have that heart connection, they're going to listen to you. They really are. And then you get to pass on that knowledge and wisdom that you know in the industry you find yourself in. And I also loved how you talk about Toastmasters. Full disclosure, I'm part of Toastmasters. Love it. Yes. And I am that introvert. I truly hate public speaking. But years of practice in Toastmasters, yeah. And I know I see the surprise on your face, but when I say hate, I would have dry heaves when I had to do presentations for work, which is what ultimately was the final motivation to go, okay, we have to fix this because I can't keep getting nauseous and sick every time I have to make a presentation. And I needed to do that for my work at the time. So that was a skill I had to acquire and learn. And Toastmasters was definitely a great thing. You don't have to do Toastmasters. There are other wonderful programs and opportunities out there. But again, get the skills and learn and be inspired by those in your community who can push you to move forward.
So I want to talk about two circles. There's
Okay.
this circle over here, and there's this circle over here. And it's a Venn diagram where they have a small crossover.
Yeah, small overlap. Yep.
Yeah, a little overlap. And that's what's called a Venn diagram. So those two circles, when they overlap, most people learn about their business. And they say, this other business over here has nothing to do with me because it's not related to me. So I don't need to know anything that they know. Nothing could be farther from the truth. One of my favorite podcasts is called Marketplace. And I listen to that because what's going on in every single business that has nothing to do with DJ, nothing to do with entertainment, has everything to do with how I can be successful. Because the challenges that they're having within their industries have either come, gone, or are soon coming to my
Mhm.
business. And so that Venn diagram of what is the overlap, I can then take and say, here's something that makes sense in my industry. And on top of that, I can then say, you know, these things, everybody's exposed to this stuff going on in this business, this industry, but my people, they haven't been exposed to it because they're, again, it has nothing to do with me, so I don't need to know about that. And now I take that and it makes me different. Years ago,
Well,
when I
we
was doing
started with being different. You
yes.
said you can either, you can either be good, better, or different.
So years ago, when I was doing bar bat mitzvahs, and I had all these, funny things and games and things that I was doing at a youth event, and I said, "What would happen if I did that at a wedding?" And people said, "Nah, you can't do that at a wedding." And of course, I proved them wrong because I brought something that was not known to the wedding entertainment business, and they were exposed to it, and I found an audience for it.
I really like that concept of learning from different industries. And for you, it wasn't even that this example wasn't even that dramatic of a different industry, right? You took parties, bar mitzvahs, and you brought it into weddings. Imagine more so taking tech. I will always bring in tech
Right,
because
right,
I
right.
love tech, but learning from the tech industry, and in my case, bringing it into the event planning industry. One of the first things I did was when I started networking, I I learned very quickly I really didn't like paper business cards. And so I remember doing a research and going, there's got to be a digital business card thing concept here. And found it. And that's how you and I met, right?
That's right.
And you asked for my business card. I was like, oh, I can text it to you. And I remember looking at your face, like, who is this person?
And now we're
But it
besties.
was exactly. Now we're besties. So it worked out quite well for me. But the point being is learning from different industries, not because they're in the same, but because you can either learn, and you said it well, business is business, regardless of your industry. There's just cycles of business. So you can learn and be prepared, bring that into your own. Or even more exciting is you can learn from one industry and go, oh, I think I can bring this over to my industry and continue to be different and stand out and being your authentic you. Love that. Love that. All right. So you've given us
I
a lot
know,
of
I
great
know you
tips.
want to go, but I get just one more for you.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, just one more. Most people think in terms of the sales process that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes.
So they're selling, then the client says yes, that's the middle point, right? And then once you've provided the service, that's the end.
Right.
Well, that means that you're always hunting, you're always looking for new customers. I like to think in terms of a beginning, a middle, and a segue. That
Ooh,
is the transition that follows after, not after the sale, but actually after the product has been delivered, that allows you to continue to stay connected with the individual. That's beyond just, well, let me sell you some more of my stuff,
right.
because that puts you in a position to not only be the expert, but also to be the go to person for whatever they might need. So, outside of the event industry, I get calls all the time. Can you refer me to, and then fill in the blank, whether it's a realtor, an electrician, or somebody to do a roof, or a lawyer, an attorney, a doctor, all of these things that, again, have nothing to do with the event industry, but because I've not only positioned myself as the expert, but I've also positioned myself as the person who's continually connected with what's important to my ideal client. So I'm always referring others, great networking, right? But at the same
Yes.
time, I'm always top of mind. So when they need something that relates to what I do, I'm the first person they call.
Well, you just heard it here. Another great way, the segue. I was saying ongoing, but segue sounds so much more sexier. So
Oh,
the
wait a minute, wait a
segue.
minute, wait a minute. Girl called me sexy.
Well, did I really
Well,
though? But no, it's true though. It's not even about asking the sale. It's really about one about being top of mind, but two, going back to what Phil said, because you care about people and you
yeah.
enjoy people, right? Providing them just a holistic view of here are some more resources as we continue our relationship and continue our journey together. So that when you do at some point need my service, well, you know, like, love, trust me, because you've heard so many other things from me during this time. So, well, thank you so much, Scott. A lot
Oh,
in
wait a minute.
there.
Are we out of time?
Almost, but don't
Okay.
worry. What is it? I feel like a little bit like an infomercial, but wait, there's one more. I mean, you talked about some instrumental people, so a couple of last questions and thoughts. One more person that's been instrumental overall in your success. Love to know that. And then one final thing you want to leave with the audience.
Okay. So I've already dropped the whole thing about how David Hepburn helped me to come out of my box, my shell, when I moved from California here to Arizona. So huge influence on my life. I'm bearing my soul here without giving you all of the lurid details, if you will. But Pearl, you helped me immensely. Um, sometimes you need somebody to remind you to drink your own Kool-Aid, and it's not enough that you say, but you have to walk the walk and talk the talk and all of that. And you and I did something together. We don't need to go into the details, but suffice to say, you helped me learn a great lesson, and not just a single lesson, but a whole myriad of things that day that I have been able to bring into my business model so that that doesn't happen again. And I just want to say thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you very much. That is very kind. And I've learned a lot from you and honestly, all the amazing panelists that have been here today, which is why I love chatting with you. So thank you. I see a question here, and this one's just a fun question. So I'm going to ask it anyway right now because
Oh,
we do have a couple of minutes. Why did you move from Cali to AZ?
um, sold the house, bought the house, made the move. And when we made the
Yes, but
move,
you could have sold the house and bought the house anywhere. So why Arizona?
well, that's true too. But it was less about Arizona, if you will, and more about when my business went national.
Oh,
So, or
okay.
I
Well,
could
I
say
feel like that's a story
international.
for another day.
That is a story for another day. But once it went national, it didn't matter where I lived, and so
Oh,
Arizona was the place. No earthquakes, no floods, an occasional fire, no tornadoes, no hurricanes. Arizona, that's the state.
I understand. We do have some lovely weather overall. All right, one
Oh,
last
did we
thing.
talk about weather? We're not supposed to talk about the weather.
Oh, just saying. Nice weather overall. One last thing you'd love to leave for the audience before we say goodbye for now.
um, don't be the smartest person in the room, and if you think you are, find another room. And it's not that you have to leave the other room, just make sure that you don't spend all your time there. I listen to a podcast called Make Me Smart
Oh,
for that very reason. All right? Because
okay.
they have a whole section about making, people, ask questions, and the panelists then make people smart about a whole myriad of different topics. And I think that's important, that you continue to learn, that you have a lifelong taste for learning. It will serve you well.
Well, I can't agree more. I love to learn. The I love to learn. I could do a whole segment on just learning and applying. That's the thing I had to learn was not to just digest, but to actually implement what I'm learning
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
But that's a great way to segue to our next speaker.
Thank you, Pearl.
Thank you so much, Scott. Until Q&A, it was wonderful having you here again. We will chat with you shortly.